Oh, I mean, he can't get enough. I don't know if you can hear him purring, but. Hey guys, it's Jasmine, and that was Puppy. And today we are going to discuss all things shedding. This is kind of a continuance from last week's video, which, by the way, if you missed last week's video, make sure you go watch it when you're done with this one. But in that video, I shared with you a tip on how I managed to trick Alfred into being brushed because he is a feline fur baby that does not like to be brushed. But there is something that I forgot to mention in that video that's very important for you guys to know, and I'm going to bring that up towards the end of this video. So make sure you stick around till the very end because it's kind of an important part to that tip that I shared in last week's video. So in continuing on with the subject of cat hair and shedding, today we're going to talk about what shedding is, whether it's healthy or not, how to know when it does become an issue, how to manage when your cats shed, some fun, interesting facts, and then I'm going to share with you the steps that I take in order to manage my two house lions when their bodies decide to shed their hair/fur all over the place. Now, if you are any ordinary person that perhaps does not have the honor of being a cat owner/slave, then you might know it's springtime outside due to, first of all, the time changing, and secondly, due to the warmer weather happening depending on where you live. I'm currently in Florida, so it has been basically almost summer for almost a month now, teetering around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. In addition to that, you hear the birds singing, and the days start to get a little bit longer, and the trees start to get their leaves again if they lost them. But if you're one of the fortunate few to have a feline fur baby in the house, then you likely know it's springtime because it suddenly seems like a bomb of cat hair has been ignited inside your house. First of all, shedding is completely natural and normal. In cats, it's really important because this is what helps them keep warm, and it's also what helps their skin stay in good condition. Now, cats in the wilds typically go through two major shedding phases in the year. One in the springtime, which is when they're getting rid of that thick winter undercoat, and one in the autumn time, which is when they're going to be renewing and replenishing that undercoat again for the upcoming winter. The thing is, in domesticated cats, like what we have in our homes, and especially in indoor-only cats, because they are in this constant climate due to artificial air conditioning and heating, they end up shedding constantly throughout the entire year. But if you have an outdoor cat, or even if you have a semi-outdoor cat, which is like what Puppy and Alfred are, they have access to the seasons more freely than a strictly indoor cat. They end up shedding more in tune with what nature intended, which means I'm seeing a huge influx of it around this time of year. What's interesting is that the more sunlight your cat is exposed to, or the more daylight they're exposed to, the more they are likely to shed, because the hours spent in this sunlight is actually what triggers the shedding process, and this is called the photoperiod. Now, when it comes to how much you should expect your cat to shed at all, that depends on a few things, including their breed, of course, the time of year, whether they're indoor, outdoor, or semi-outdoor, their diet, and their state of health. Now, unsurprisingly, the cats that shed the most are the ones who have the most layers of fur or hair, because cats actually come in a single coat, double coat, or they can have a triple coat. An example of a single coat cat is the Turkish Angora, because they only have guard hairs. A double-coated breed could be considered Persians, because they have the soft outer layer of down-like hairs for that added warmth. And by the way, that's what an undercoat kind of is when you hear that mentioned. It's basically just insulation. Now, triple coat breeds are probably what you can picture in your head. They are the Maine Coons and the Siberian breed. And of course, these cats are the ones that shed the most and need the most maintenance when it comes to taking care of their fur or their hair. So that's definitely something to consider when you're looking to adopt a cat. As for the cat breeds that shed the least, those include the Cornish Rex and the Devon Rex. Not only are they absolutely adorable, but you can see they have very short curly hair. And although they still definitely shed, it's just not as noticeable as the other breeds. And of course, we must mention the coveted gorgeous Sphynx breed cat, which is a purebred hairless cat breed that I'm sure you've seen before. Even though, believe it or not, they're not completely hairless, they do have super fine, tiny hairs all over their body, similar to peach fuzz on humans. They could be considered a non-shedding breed. And quick side note, don't mistake Sphynx cats for being lower maintenance just because they don't have this issue of hair or shedding. If any of you happen to have a Sphynx cat, feel free to leave in the comments below all of the maintenance that Sphynx do require. I've never had one, but I've known people with them, and I've done enough research to understand that they might not have the hair and the shedding factor, but it's made up for in other ways. For example, they need to be bathed and taken care of by their owners. They're not as capable of regulating their body temperature. And anything else you guys want to add, definitely do so in the comments. Now, when it comes to cats with hair and fur, did you ever ask yourself what the difference actually is between fur and hair? It's understandable that when most cat owners or pet owners are talking about their cat's hair or fur, those words are used interchangeably, and that's totally fine. Because even though all fur is hair, all hair is not fur. So a good example you can think of is, even though berries are fruit, not all fruit is a berry. Basically, fur just falls under the category of being a type of hair. And if you're wondering if your cat has hair or fur, or certainly they can have a blend of both, but a quick test you can do is by checking on the density of your cat's coat. If you're petting your cat and you have kind of a hard time separating their coat in order to see the skin underneath of it, and it's difficult to do that, then it's most likely fur. But if you can just blow on your cat's hair or pet it simply and you easily see its adorable pink belly underneath when you do that, then it's more likely your cat has hair. Alfred, for example, like I've spoken about, and an undercoat too can be a big sign, but he is a furry, more shedding cat. Puppy, on the other hand, doesn't have that same coat as Alfred, except for on that little belly area where they tend to be a little bit fluffier. So I would say Puppy is more of a hair cat, whereas Alfred is more of a fur cat. And by the way, their DNA test results, which I did get, I haven't made a video on Alfred's yet. Leave me a comment below if you want to see that, and I'll really try and prioritize it. But they're very, very different despite their aesthetics being very similar. So when it comes to shedding and your cat's health, either extreme of the spectrum could be concerning. For example, if your cat isn't shedding at all, or if they are shedding much, much less than usual, then that can definitely be a sign of some kind of illness or an underlying medical issue. If your cat is excessively shedding, and especially if it's in the colder months or winter time when they would typically hold on to that coat, and especially if it's accompanied by bald spots or skin redness or irritation. This could also mean that something is wrong, and it could point to something like allergies or even hyperthyroidism, which I do have a video dedicated to hyperthyroidism and how common it is in cats and the symptoms, and I'll make sure to link that video in the description below if you want to check that out after this one. But this is just one of the reasons why I always mention how important it is to monitor your cat and to have a good idea and be aware of what your cat's baseline of health is. And that way, if anything changes or goes any which direction, you can identify that something's different and then consult with your vet in order to hopefully make sure that everything's okay, or at least go the right direction when it comes to your cat's health. Now, when it comes to excessive shedding, also just keep in mind that when it comes to stress, and especially immediate type of stress, and especially if you have a little bit of a skittish type natured cat like Alfred, that kind of immediate stress or anxiety can absolutely catapult the shedding in your cat. The very first time I took Alfred to the vet after I got him over a year ago, I, of course, was wearing one of my favorite black hoodies, and I was shocked by the amount of hair/fur that was covering me by the time I got to the vet's office. So anxiety shedding can definitely happen in a situational way whenever your cat is just out of their kind of calm, neutral state. So if they're scared, if they are anxious. I mean, you might even visibly see it. If a loud noise happens and your cat gets skittish and runs away, you might even see this light floof of maybe some hairs in their wake as they run away. And come to think of it, I might do a future video and do some research, both anecdotally and see what I can find about how much cat hair we actually consume as cat owners/slaves, because I don't know how many times, you guys, it's all over. Like, you'll find a little hair in your food. You'll find little hairs everywhere. So I'm super curious to, at this point at least, how much cat hair I've ended up consuming. Now, before I get into my tips on how to manage this and what I do with Puppy and Alfred, if you're new to this channel, I just want to say welcome. We typically put out a new video every catter day about feline nutrition, especially raw cat food, or things like what I'm talking about today, like cat care tips, as well as things for humans like stress management tips, workouts, recipes, and whatever else I feel like posting. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, then please feel free to join us here by clicking that subscribe button below and the little bell icon that's right next to it so that you can get notified whenever new videos go up here on YouTube. And if you're watching this on the Facebook page, then just make sure to follow and like our page, because I do put out new videos and fun photos and things every single day there. All right, now on to the tips on how to manage your cat's shedding and crazy hair release all over the place. And there are 3 tools that I have and use, but I'm going to also suggest additional ones to you guys depending on your cat's coat. The first one is this guy, the Furminator. So in last week's video, I told you my trick on how I managed to brush Alfred, who is a cat who does not like being brushed, but how I managed to trick him into being brushed basically while I fed him during meal times. And I showed you guys how I use the Furminator for maybe 1 or 2 minutes when he's eating breakfast and when he's eating dinner. And it worked so great. We didn't have any hairballs or hair hot dogs, as you know, I call them. But a few days ago, I was looking down on him and I noticed that I could kind of see his little pink skin a little bit more than usual on his back, on top of his spine. And that was not normal because he's usually so fluffy that all you see is fur. I've never looked at him and seen what seemed to be thinning hair or anything like that. And that's why it's super important to mention and know, because even I did not follow these instructions. But this thing is so effective that you only want to use it 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week, for 10 to 20 minutes, making sure that you use it by distributing all over the body evenly to not just focus on one spot, which is sort of what I did when I was doing it every single day to him for a couple of weeks. I would go around his back, but basically stay within a certain area because that's where he really, really shed from, especially by his tail. So I stopped using this on Alfred every day as I had been, even though it was for such a small amount of time. And I would say within 3 to 5 days, the hair on his back started to fill in again and look pretty normal. So just take heed. This is amazing. It's wonderful. And it's especially good if you have a cat with that double coat or triple layer coat. I highly suggest it. Just make sure that you aren't over utilizing it on your feline fur baby's body. That brings me to what I began using, which I somehow could not locate to show you guys, but I'll put a picture up of it here. It is your typical paddle brush with bristles with a handle. And I would suggest that no matter what kind of coat your cat has, whether it's single, double, triple, more fur, more hair. This is just one of those standard things that is really, really good to have. And by the way, anything I mentioned today, I will link in the description below because, like most things that I purchase, all of these things I got off Amazon. But the paddle brush is great to have. I'm really happy with this one that I have and that I've been using. And this is what I switch to when I brush Alfred now, just once a day when he's eating. And when it comes to how often you want to brush your cat, definitely in the changing of the seasons. If you have a semi-outdoor cat where they are affected by the seasonal climate, like Puppy and Alfred, as opposed to the indoor cats that kind of shed all year round. Second to considering your cat's coat, for example, if they are short hair, you might need to brush them once or twice a week, maybe an additional day if they are affected by the climate. If you have a long-haired cat, then you might have to brush them every other day, especially if they tend to have the kind of fur or hair that mats up. And for that, it's important that you own a wide tooth comb and also a fine tooth comb. And what you would do is first always go through with the wide tooth comb, and with all of these, you always want to go in the direction of the hair growth. And once all is clear using that, then you take the fine tooth comb and make sure to get out any other knots, or if there is potential matting and you don't feel confident or you're worried you're going to hurt your cat, then definitely consult with your vet or seek out a reputable groomer that you can take your cat to regularly, or you can even find groomers that will come to your house to groom your cat, which is a better option if you can find that, because most cats will get really anxious and kind of go through a trauma every single time they have to go to the groomers, as I'm sure many of you can attest to. Of course, considering that that is within your budget. The third thing that I use that I want to mention to you guys is this guy. I'm sure many of you have seen these. I've had this for, I want to say, at least 3 years. I think I got it when they first came out. So I will leave a link to this one in the description below, but I'm pretty sure that there are new, updated, maybe even better quality ones right now, which I will research. And if I find one, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll test them out for you guys and see how they work. But this still does a pretty good job. This is another one of those things that is perfectly fine to use daily. Your cat will just feel like he or she is being pet, and whilst doing so, will get hair removed from them and caught on this glove. I will say that Puppy loves this. Again, he just loves the act of being pet or brushed or anything like that. But for his type of hair, which is shorter, I do get some, as you can see, I'll show right here, but it's not a crazy amount. It's not, I guess you can say, as satisfying as using the Furminator, probably needless to say. However, if you have a cat with an undercoat or a cat with a double or triple coat, unsurprisingly, you'll find more hair when you use this thing. And Alfred can tolerate this a little bit more because it's kind of tricky, because he thinks he's just being pet and not brushed, because again, he does not like being brushed. Hi, puppy. We're talking about you. He wants to be brushed right now. See, this is what I'm talking about. Here you go, honey. The only complaint I have with this, besides the fact that I think there's probably better ones out there now as opposed to 3 years ago when it first came out. Once you start brushing in one direction like this, if your cat comes to the other side of you, you can't just start brushing the other direction because all of the hair is being caught in this direction. So I would ideally prefer if it came with two, and that way you can be double-handed with these gloves, but that's not a huge deal. And I definitely think that this is a great tool to have in your arsenal when it comes to brushing or grooming your cat and dealing with the shedding factor. You're such a good model, puppy. Oh, he's drooling all over the place now. Okay, so those are the 3 things that I use to maintain the hair and fur from Puppy and Alfred in this household. And if you guys want to know what I use when it comes to cleaning and furniture and getting hair off of those areas, then I'm going to have a different video coming up sharing my little hacks and tricks on what I do for that. And if you're curious to how raw cat food affects shedding and also hairballs, then I will have that video coming up as well. All right, guys, if you found this video interesting or helpful, then please do me a favor and click the thumbs up below, because that helps us out here at the channel, and it also helps this video hair flying. It also helps this video get into the eyes of everybody who is scrolling around on YouTube, especially these days. Please feel free to share this video with anybody else who you think may find it helpful, and also to subscribe if you are not a part of the Cat Lady Fitness family already, because we would love to have you. Here, you can see just what I got from him right now. I mean, it's not bad. I was just doing it for a couple minutes, and it's really easy to take the hair off. You just kind of peel it off. Sometimes I'll just take a handheld vacuum to it, and it's super simple. Ooh, and I am not about to forget the Meowed Out of the Week, which goes to 2 people this week, and those 2 people are Shelby Cole and RC Trucks Jacksonville or Forest. Thank you guys so much for commenting on last week's video about how I trick Alfred into being brushed, as well as liking and commenting on so many videos, because I appreciate it so very much. I appreciate the engagement, as I'm sure Puppy and Alfred do. And for anybody else who would like to be next week's Meowed Out of the Week, all you have to do is like this video and leave a comment below telling me your favorite part about it. And by the way, make sure to check out the community tab of our channel, because I do occasionally post updates on there. For example, I posted one a couple of days ago sharing with you guys how I'm cleaning and organizing out my closet. I've worn this a couple of times in videos, and I always get asked where it's from, and I'm thinking I might retire it and put it on my Poshmark closet. So if you have Poshmark, leave a link to your closet in the comments below, and I will check it out. And I'll also leave a link to mine, because if you want to shop my closet and potentially, I'm not sure yet, but potentially get this sweater, then it can possibly be yours. And just make sure, if you do get anything, to let me know that you are a part of the Cat Lady Fitness family, because I might include a little something extra from the boys to you. All right, guys, all that being said, because we know that I can go on forever. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.